Hello. Welcome to another game dev stream. Just gonna close the door just a second. There we are. Okay. So open the music. music's probably still too loud. Let's lower that somewhat. There. I'm assuming that's better. Um, right scene twister, yeah. So, good day everyone. Welcome to another little game dev stream. Um, so yeah, I've been working a bit today on at least getting rid of the most annoying bugs with success. So the score and lives not persisting between scenes, or yeah, not even displaying correctly within a scene, that's now fixed. Um, I think most of the little bugs that we had are now out of the game. I've also added a little bit of small things like if we go to our scenes here, um, so we now have brown asteroids. We have different sprites for the asteroids, so it just picks random sprites at the start. I also made it so brown asteroids shatter into smaller brown pieces and gray asteroids into smaller gray pieces, which makes sense, of course. Um, so yeah, we have a little bit more variety there in the visuals. I added an extra level as well. Come to think of it, I also have to add it in my build settings. Level 2. Yeah, so we now have 3 levels. And yeah, the idea is to at least publish a working version, very basic but working, functional, um, today. The most blatant thing that is still missing, I think, is the options. There is no options menu, and if you go into the options menu, there's no way to go out and set, except to kill the process. I could add a back button, but I might just as well temporarily disable the options, or we could quickly make an option screen. That's another option, because I've made one before, so I can go take a look into another project where I did an option screen and just copy most of that. I also learned during my holidays a few tricks how you can save data pretty easily, some user preferences, basic data stuff really, um, during runtime on the user's computer. If I want to say like the volume or the graphical settings, I could. It shouldn't be too hard to save that, so when the users reopen the program, that they have their options maintained. That would be also something pretty awesome, I think. Um, what else? Well, what do we need to add? One thing maybe that I certainly want to do before releasing the build is currently I've made it with the Belgian keyboard layout. So I've basically really said if you press Z, you go forward, or you thrust forward. If you press S, you thrust backward. So all of that is pretty long messages. Maybe was that you? Um, Timed out G71M. What? Uh, okay. Of course, what is long? At least Streamlabs bot is doing its job, but let me quickly check that, because what is long? Too many symbols. Overly lengthy. Sending overly lengthy. Maximum message length 140. That's perhaps a bit short, no? 140 characters. that's, I don't know, 400. um, I don't want to be too restrictive. We just want to avoid people spamming stuff and not. Oh yeah, I just realized that's not visible on screen, but yeah, there was a lengthy message filter on the Streamlabs bot. It was set to 140 or 180 characters, so I increased that a little, but still that was already quite lengthy. I will need some mods soon if I continue like this. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, the input. So if I want to release a build to test, I probably want to get rid of those fixed key settings. But I have to be careful not to introduce any errors. So that's a bit the tricky part. Because currently my input is just taking the keys rather than using Unity's input manager. But maybe we can take a look at that right now. So all should be in the player input script because we have refactored that before, so all our input should be here. Yeah, so we have 4 keys for movement. We have 1 to completely freeze all movement and rotation. Let's even rename this freeze, movement and rotation, because that's what it actually is. And then we have shooting with space. Okay. So if we go into Unity, into our project settings, input. So we should probably change it so we use the vertical, negative and positive button. So that's already Z and S, up and down. Fine. And horizontal, Q and D, or left and right. Okay, I think that makes sense. And fire 1 is space, yeah. And then if we use, say, the mouse, well, the mouse will not work, but this is mouse. This should be, yeah, joystick. So we have joystick fire 1. We have joystick horizontal. Joystick axis, yeah. So I think what we should do now instead is rather than say let's keep what we have as well. So I'm gonna say comment this out. No, other way around. And then here. And then we say input dot get axis. No, get what do we say? Get. No, we can say get key down, but instead of saying key code space, let's start with the movement. I think that's the easier one. So let's copy paste this. So we have the original in comments and we have our new one that we're gonna overwrite. And it says input get axis or axis raw. No smoothing filter. No. Let's keep the smoothing filter. And then we say vertical. That returns the value. So if this is greater than 0, no. The value, oh, float. No, not like this, of course. And like that. And then here we say, so forward, if it's less than 0, backwards. Then we do the same here with these two. But here we say horizontal. By the way, how was your weekend, Maisie? Have you been having a good time? So this should be good question. I think this should be the positive one. Left control. We might keep that in. We might keep this explicitly as control. And not rebind that, but the movement keys should now be replaced with these axes. Let's quickly give that a try. Seems to be working just fine, although the movement seems to be faster now. Or is that just me? Maybe not. Maybe a little. Okay, but that's fine-tuning. At least the controls are working. Okay, and if we die, you see our score is maintained, our lives are updating correctly. Yep. Okay, so that's working fine. Good news. Well, in that case, why not just instantly get rid of this? Because if it works, then we will use it. And then here we will have input dot. But this is more tricky, because here we're actually working with key down and key up. And starts pressing the key. Well, this is just an axis, an input axis. So let's do the same thing. We can put this down here, comment it out, and then we're gonna say if input get button down, the virtual button. Okay, so instead of key down, we say button down, and then we say fire 1. Yeah, this is just the same. This is just a virtual one, while the other is the effective key. We just use the virtual button rather than the actual key. So that's more than okay, I think. Right. Okay, let's try this. See if our shooting is still working. wow. I'm not pressing any keys. Okay, so that's not exactly what we wanted. So what could be going wrong here? We say if input.get button down, then the button name. Why is this saying this? Possible mistaken empty statement. Oh yeah, we don't need these. Of course, I doubt that's the reason, but oh, it is. Okay. And I hit it with my wing. Well, that seems to be working. Perfect. Let's see if I can change the music for a moment, because this is several versions of the same song, not that great. Alright, so yeah, our controls seem to be working fine. Let's get this out of here. Oh, that was not what I wanted to do. Like that. Let's remove this. I haven't had this in quite a while since we've updated our code previously. And we'll see if maybe it comes back, but there we go. Improved input. One thing we will check is what the player can do. This is not the player, right? This is the player. Full screen window. Display resolution dialog disabled. We're forcing it to 16:9. Full screen switch, yes. Show the splash screen, yeah, why not? Splash style, okay. Yeah, this is just the Unity logo. The background, other settings, rendering, Vulkan, Mac app, configuration, optimization, stack tray, and nothing about keys. Weird. Product name. It's the icon. I missed it? No, this is just resolution and presentation, so don't really see anything about controls. Of course, this one, but this is just the input manager. Windows. Server build, no. Development build, yes. And then we get here again, so I'm not sure. I thought previously when you had a Unity when you had a Unity build, it got a first you got a pop-up window when you launched it where you could always rebind the keys. Many games had that, the same pop-up that you get beforehand, but I don't see where that would actually come in place anymore. It's not mentioned under the splash window, is it? No. Input system preview. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe if you say input preview, then input system preview, they get a pop-up beforehand where they can rebind the keys. Active input handling. I don't know. I don't know. Well, maybe if we just go to our scene here, the options, where we've actually disabled the buttons, but we could. Oh no, it's not disabled. Wait. Oh, did we re-enable that? Oh, but there's no script. So if we say here UI canvas, UI handler on back button pressed, save our scene. That might be all it takes to have at least an empty options screen that doesn't block our program. Options, back. Yeah, that works. Options, back. Options, back. Pew pew. Alright. Yeah, I think from what I can see, we have more than enough for a public build, right? The core game loop is working. Okay, you won't be able to change any options. There's only 3 levels and they're very basic, there's no enemies. But besides that, let's go ahead and make a little build here. No, first I am going to save my current version. And we're gonna say, so what did we do? Change input, change player input to use input manager. And change player input manager. What else did we do? Um, Back button in options, build settings. I think that's pretty much it, right? Build settings, yeah, player movement and player input, and options. Okay, let's build that. Let's push it to GitHub. Um, but before I go ahead and publish this, let's make a build. So double check our build settings. We have all our scenes. Yeah. Okay, so let's build in builds. Moment of truth. We'll also see if that font issue with our score text is resolved, because we couldn't see that in the editor, but we saw it in a standalone build. I think it's fixed, but tunes and tunes. Yeah. No pop-up window. Options works. Quit. That works. And now we get the menu sound. So yeah, that was still an issue I had, even though I made a separate audio manager script or object even. Oh, what was that? Okay, I don't know what I pushed there. So my controls are still working, but you can't rebind them. So the end result is still the same, which is not what we want. So I can also not quit from here because I don't have a pause menu. I don't have a pause menu. Yeah, that's so if you want to quit now, you have to kill the process or let yourself die until you reach the game over screen, which is also not practical. So that's maybe a last thing we might need to do to at least give the player a way to quit. So back in here. So what were our issues? We had the issue with the input, and we had the issue with not unable to rebind keys, and two, unable to quit while the game is running, while you're actually playing a level. Let's just quickly check what happens if we change. Where did we have it? Input manager. So if we say both, the Unity editor must be restarted. Okay. Not sure what the effect is. I hope this is what I think it is. Either way, we should always be able to go back to Input Manager. Loading, loading, loading. Okay, so this is done. maybe we can say yeah, we'll just do something very basic. Our player input. We can say quit, and then generate method, and then here we say okay, if let's just copy this from here, something like that. Copy. If input get key down is key code escape, then we say why are they doing that? Oh yeah, another. And then we say application. No, we're gonna do it through the UI handler. A UI handler is no the scene loader. The scene loader is the one that handles all the movement between scenes and stuff. So find object of type scene loader. We could do it from here very easily, but it's much better to just say to our scene loader that we want to quit. Because if we want to do something special when we quit, this is when you quit from the menu, so as well. So it's better to do it like this, and then anything that should happen when we quit, we can put it over there. So here, yeah, we haven't touched this, we haven't touched that. So in player input, when the player hits escape at any point in time, we quit. No warning, which is also not ideal. But hey, you shouldn't be pushing escape, right? I rather have this brutal quitting on escape than to not have a way to quit when you are in the levels. So it's not the cleanest solution, but it's a fast one. Yeah, we don't have to do this because we can't test it in the editor anyway. Just let's immediately do a build settings build builds. And I'm curious to see if now the inputs we will get that pop-up window before the game launches. Will be really interesting to see. Let's try it. Made with Unity. No, doesn't look like it. So it's not what I thought it was. Escape. Okay, at least the escape works. But what we changed here is definitely not what I thought it was. So, where did we do that? Active input handling. Okay, let's put it back to input manager because it's definitely not the setting we are looking for. Let me just quickly Google that. So, Unity 2019 key bindings. Wait, what's my Discord restarting? What? Why? Okay, not sure what happened there. And my browser just crashed. My browser crashed when I hit the search, and my Discord restarted for some reason. Weird stuff here. Okay, so let's restart our browser. Oh man, gonna have to kill it the hard way. Google Chrome. Sorry for that. Let's try that again. So, Unity key bindings. Did they change that? I'm pretty sure there was a way to do that. Normally, you used to get a pop-up window where you could change your graphic settings and the input, the basic controls, and it doesn't seem to do that anymore. Unity key bindings at start. Yeah, I get some tutorials for making scripts and menus to do that stuff, and I could do that, but that's what? A plugin for Unity. Well, this is pretty much a step backward, right? Ah, screen configuration dialog. Can be created on the input window. This is a legacy image. What? Allow the players of your game to customize the controls to their liking. The game launcher presents all defined axes. There was no game launcher. Have I somehow disabled the game launcher? Well, let's go back into our game, shall we? Somehow the game launcher must be disabled, right? Preset manager. Player. It should be player. I'm pretty sure it must be somewhere in here. So if we say resolution and presentation, capturing a screen, display resolution dialog. Maybe this is part of the resolution dialog? Is that the reason? Backgrounds. Display resolution dialog has been deprecated and will be removed in a future version. Okay. what's the alternative? Maybe you should tell me that. Um, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the developer development build as well. Um, let's just give that a try to see if that actually brings back the key bindings as well. I'm just steering blind here at the moment because there must be a way for the player to do it without the developer needing to make a key rebinding menu. That would be a step backwards. It was standard Unity functionality. Aha! It does bring it back. This is not the display resolution dialog. This is the graphics and input dialog, Mr. Unity. This is the launcher now. But the thing is that Unity here in the player settings says display resolution dialog enabled or disabled. But this is not a display resolution dialog. This is a graphics and input dialog. The scope of this dialog window is much larger than just the display resolution. And of course, I can put a menu, I can build a menu myself, but if everyone has to do that, there should be a different way for players to do that, right? Because every game practically that uses keyboard input, you want to be able to rebind keys. That's just core functionality of any game. So it's gonna work now, but it says it's deprecated and will be removed, so that's pretty weird. Let me just Google again. Unity display resolution dialog. You can even customize it, but that's pretty much everything it says. It doesn't even mention in the Unity 2019.2 documentation that this is deprecated or what the alternatives are. So, shame on you, Unity. That's not good points you're scoring here. Anyways, we're just gonna ignore that message, shall we? And keep it in. The only downside is that users will also be able to select their resolution in here. Well, I only wanted them to allow allow the key bindings. And my game is made to be only playable in 16 times 9 aspect ratios. So if someone will choose some exotic resolution, it's gonna look really, really weird. So that's my problem now. I want to allow input key bindings without doing it all through programming, but I don't want the user to change all this. This is something I do want in my options menu. Um, so annoying. Because this would be a lot more work to program to have all these keys rebindable, whereas setting a resolution and a quality, I mean, and windowed or full screen, that's no big deal. Well, we can give it a try and see how this looks at least, but yeah. This looks okay because, yeah, I'm on 4K, so I think that's also 16:9, so um, escape, we quit, okay. Let's just save, let's close this for a moment, shall we? Um, so let's retry. Pick one crazy resolution. I don't know. Is there any? Oh, wait a second. Oh, this is it. Aren't these all 16:9 resolutions? Yeah, it looks like they are all 16:9 aspect ratio. So that's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna keep it like this then. Perfect. Okay, I think we have our first build. Um, let's go in here. Do we have any changes? Yeah. So add quit on escape. No warning. Um, project settings. Um, launcher dialog for resolution and key bindings. First build. Stage all, commit, push. And then let me quickly check if I can go to my second. Um, how do I make it public? Settings. New. Oh, here settings in the repository, of course, and then make this repository public. The name's a bit weird because it doesn't look like a space shooter game at all. So we have our repository. Could you check, Maisie, if you can open that? And I want to add a file. No, not like this. Upload a file. I'm not sure how I should be adding a built-in here, because this is all code. Um, Anyone can download the code. That's fine. Releases. Attach binaries. So, what do we have to say here? V 0.1? I don't know. First test build. Touch binaries. So we go to our documents, Unity projects, tunes and tunes, builds. It's a pre-release, non-production ready. Yes. And publish. There you go. The executable should be available now. So when we go, where can you find it? One release. And then there you have the Tunes and Tunes executable. Okay, think I'm gonna wrap it up here for today. Maybe this evening I'll come back to it a little more, from a little bit more polish. We'll see. No promises yet. Um, but I think at this point, the main goal was to build a little working application to showcase my skills. So the game, I can continue polishing this for weeks if I want. I think being playable is more than enough at this point. So I might just stop right here and use this for my application to showcase at least that I can do some Unity programming. But we'll see. I might come back to it, but if I do more development streams, it's likely gonna be something a bit more interesting and complex than this little space shooter. But anyway, thanks for watching. Would appreciate it if people who have watched the stream would give it a try. Just not really spend time playing, but just check if when you open it that you get no errors, that yeah, the resolutions are working and the key bindings are working. You know, the basic stuff, just to get some feedback at least before I use this game for in an application. Would be great to know if it's working fine on another computer. but of course, no obligation. So any feedback is welcome. So thanks for watching and have a good day. Bye.